Welcome everyone to today's webinar. I am Mike Kaplan, the Chief Marketing Officer at AVOXI, and I'm very excited to be speaking with James Young, Senior IT Architect at ENGIE Impact. Welcome, James. But I'd be remiss if I did not say this webinar today is a little bit of a full circle moment for me personally, because I actually worked at ENGIE Impact for about 5 years. I didn't have the opportunity to work directly with James, but it's been a pleasure getting to know him over the last year and excited to dive into what he has been working on with AVOXI. So thank you again. This webinar series is really focused on how people are managing and organizations are managing international voice, which can be complex. Many companies are struggling with juggling different carriers, navigating regulations, quality concerns, and trying to maintain visibility across all of that. And so we are going to continue to explore best practices that companies like ENGIE Impact are using to streamline operations, improve call quality, and deliver exceptional support for their voice channel. So excited to hear James talk about how he is doing that for ENGIE Impact and their global workforce. James, maybe just to start, could you just give us a brief overview of ENGIE Impact as a company and really your role within the organization?
Sure. So ENGIE Impact is one business unit of a part of ENGIE, which is a massive multinational company. ENGIE Impact basically has two different divisions. One division is where we are helping customers with their electric and other utilities. We have customers like Starbucks that if they have left a door wide open for a while, it's going to actually trigger and tell us that something is going on because they're spending too much electricity. We also help them with pre-purchasing utilities and things like that to save money. And we run roughly $30 billion a year through Impact, paying bills and helping customers with that. The second portion of the business is a consulting, and that's all around sustainability. So it's everything from helping some of the hospitals with their waste that they need to get rid of to recently we were working with the NFL on a recycling program. My role within the company is a senior IT architect, and that basically means that I touch a little bit of everything. So my history was an awful lot with voice solutions, contact center solutions. So that was one of the things that I took over and helped get into a much better place within Impact.
Very important work with very large strategic enterprises that you engage with to help them with operations and sustainability. So that's fantastic as a backdrop to our discussion around voice and your contact center. So maybe we could start there. So tell us a little bit about ENGIE Impact's, so to speak, voice ecosystem. How many agents and employees are you supporting? Sort of regional operations. Where's the company touch, and any other communication channels that you'd like to mention within that overview?
So we're in roughly 20 countries as Impact, whereas ENGIE's in a little over 80. And we touch the United States, Philippines, Canada, South America, a lot in Europe. And we have approximately 1,300 agents in the AVOXI system. So we have phone numbers in a number of these different countries as well that you guys have helped with. Our environment is relatively simple. We have a lot of inbound calls, but those go into simple queues. We do call recording. They're answered by a group of people and it moves on. An awful lot of ours are outbound calls and controlling what the agents can actually do. Again, who they can call, where they can call, those types of things. We utilize several different data centers that you guys have around the world as well so that we can get agents connecting to a local data center so we get good quality calls out of them. Probably 60% of our workforce works from home. So they are agents sitting at home like I am. I work from home as well, who just have an internet connection there. We provide them equipment and they're able to utilize the AVOXI system to make their calls.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Thanks for that overview. So you mentioned at the top that you really focused on, as you came into the role, improving voice communication for the company. What are some of the things that you did over time to evolve that in terms of ENGIE Impact's approach to voice communications?
When I came on board, we were using a competitor of yours that was exceedingly expensive. We were roughly spending about 5 times the amount that we spend with AVOXI. and they were unable to provide phone lines in all the countries and things we needed. So we ended up trying to go with a Microsoft Teams solution. And again, we couldn't get phone numbers in all the countries from a single carrier. So our biggest issue with that was, one, the feature set for the contact center wasn't there. And the second one was that, for example, with the Philippines, which is a major site for us, we had to deal with a third party carrier. We had to put in session border controllers. We had to manage those. We had to put them into a local data center there. And that added a lot of overhead. It meant we had to have a lot of extra expertise on staff, and we were managing a lot of things we didn't want to. The big goal was within the organization was to get us onto one carrier and to get us off of having to maintain additional hardware everywhere. What AVOXI did was they gave us the phone numbers in the United States. They gave us phone numbers in the Philippines, in Australia, in South America, in the UK, and all the other locations that we needed, got us away from all of these different carriers and off of some different phone systems that we had in some of those places, and allowed us to have one support system that was easy to manage. It also meant that every single one of our agents was using the same system. All their calls were recorded into the same system. And one of the biggest things was is that everything just went through the browser. So we didn't have to have any special software installed. We didn't have to worry about how the training different agents in different ways. And it just gave us one platform.
Wow, so you touched on a lot there. Try and break that apart, in terms of the management of the voice infrastructure and then some of the capabilities that you needed for your agents and benefits there. Managing it from an IT perspective, managing voice. Can you talk a little bit more about some of the benefits that you saw and what that means in your day to day?
So when I came on board, we had RingCentral, Microsoft Teams, Cisco, ShoreTel, Avaya, and I think there was even an old Nortel system somewhere still. We had to have expertise on every one of those systems to maintain them.
Mhm.
And that meant hardware as well. So like the Avaya system, we were running hardware and servers for it in the data center. And that meant data center technicians, that meant staff there to make sure that the power was running and all of those things. We had multiple carriers coming into even different locations in the US, had separate carriers. We had multiple carriers going into the Philippines. We had a different carrier for Australia. We had a carrier for Europe, several different ones for Europe. And it meant that managing that was an exercise in futility. The first thing that you had to do was you had to figure out where somebody was. And then you had to try and figure out what system they were actually on. And then you had to figure out, even on that system, what carrier were they using? And then where was their information stored and how were they accessing the system and all of those things before you could even get started. And so this simplified things massively.
That's great. That's great color and commentary there. And then from an agent perspective and what some of the needs were there, what have been some of the benefits in terms of moving to the Avoxi platform?
For the agents, again, it simplified things because every agent is accessing the system in the same way. They open up the Chrome browser, they log into Avoxi, and away they go. There is nothing special that they have to do. There is no special requirements really for their system. We send them out just a basic computer, and they go to the site and log in. The only thing that we really are concerned about is that they have decent internet connection wherever they are and that they have a good headset, which we can provide. Other than that, that has simplified things massively. Our onboarding training now just teaches the Avoxi system, whereas before we had to have people teaching 7, 8, 9, 10 different ways to do things. Now there's one.
Great, great. And then in terms of the performance and quality of the voice channel, have you noticed any differences there moving from all the different on-prem carriers to a cloud-based solution?
So for the most part, we haven't had quality issues at all with Avoxi. The only time we have is when we have a remote agent who has a problem with their home internet connection. Other than that, there have been almost no issues or no complaints at all about the quality of them. We probably field approximately the same amount of quality issues as we did with other systems, but now it's a lot easier to track down and to find out
Mhm.
why there's a quality issue versus what it was before. And I'd say 98, 99% of the issues that we have been related to either a user's home equipment or their home internet connection.
Yeah, it's something we certainly commonly see. I think just our whole culture, certainly from a service and support perspective, even if there is that sort of downstream issue. We want to help you solve the problem. So either by giving you the intelligence or just, working with you, however it may be. So I hope that experience has been good.
It has your support on that's been excellent. If we open up a ticket, we get a response very quickly and with enough information to let us know what is going on.
You mentioned your agents and getting them a computer, making sure they have a stable internet connection. I think you had said you're adding about 10 to 30 people to that team that need to be onboarded to the AVOXI platform. What does that look like in terms of AVOXI's platform supporting the growth and how have you found the onboarding process?
We ran training courses when we switched over to Avaya. All of those were recorded. Those are presented then to anybody coming on board, and that has worked very well. We had a trainer from Avaya who ran probably 30 different classes for us on various different things within the system. We have agent training, supervisor training, help desk training, and all of those things all saved, and it has made it much, much easier. So Sunny ran those and she was fantastic.
That's great. Thinking about more on the data and intelligence side of things, as you move to the cloud, you get more analytics through a centralized platform. What are some of the pieces of information that you now have access to that you think are helpful, and how are you using data to better inform how you manage your voice solution globally?
One of the big issues that we had with Microsoft Teams was the lack of reporting. We had no idea how many calls an agent was making. We had no idea what their status was at any points in time. We didn't even know if they were logged into the system without actually going and physically looking at the agents. With Avoxy, we've got a ton of supervisor reports that are out there. Our supervisors are using them on a regular basis. They're checking them at least once a week, if not more often. And we can see the number of calls that we are receiving, that we are making, and we can make adjustments based off of what we need. Some of the other things that are very helpful are we can see if we've had people sitting on hold in a queue. We know then that, we obviously need to have some more agents or start working on that. If we have dropped calls, all that information is now available where it wasn't before.
That's great. What advice you've been at this a long time, seen a lot in the industry, in the voice and telephony industry. What advice would you give to other IT leaders who are maybe were in the same position that you were in a few years ago, and how to navigate through that process?
I have been in the industry a little while. I go back far enough that we were still using T1 multiplexers to reach agents in India. So it's been just a little bit. The big thing that you guys have done for us, and it has made life much, much easier than a few years ago, is consolidation of services. We have one support number that we need to get in touch with. We have a person at Avoxy who is our support contact who we can reach out to, will marshal any tickets or help us with anything that we need. One carrier for all of our phone numbers and one system to work with. That used to be a lot more difficult to do. You guys have managed everything for like our numbers in the Philippines. There are very specific laws about how you can operate in the Philippines and what you can do. And you guys have managed all of those things for us. When we needed phone numbers in the UK, one of the laws there is that you have to provide the business information and all of that. All of that is just presented to us. We send it in. The next thing we know, it's done. It makes our life very, very easy in comparison to what you used to have to do. I don't have to know all the laws for every country anymore.
Awesome. And what about your how you stage the migration in those different countries with those different systems? Like many customers, it's you telling, okay, here are my business requirements. Let's do this. And then how did you think about that? What were some of the decisions there, and any lesson learned, things that went very well, things that, in retrospect could have gone better in terms of the migration process or strategy?
Our migration actually went really well. One of the main reasons is we took the time to plan everything.
Mhm.
And what we did was 1,300 agents may sound like a lot to some people, but that's a relatively small system when you think about it. And we did it all in one day. Everybody went from having a Teams voice system to having an Avoxy system overnight. They were all made aware of it. Training was done ahead of time. Training was recorded. We made sure everybody had it, that they had tested the system. The system was set up beforehand. They were encouraged to log in, to place a couple of outbound calls to make sure it worked and everything for them. So we were pretty much ready to go. We did a lift and shift. Can't really think of anything at this point that could have been handled any better because I think with all the planning that went into it, I mean, we spent a good 90 days making sure that everything was exact, that we had every
Mhm.
cue that was in there, that we had professionally recorded wave files ready to go, that everything was tested. And as a result, it went exceedingly smooth.
Great. So definitely, I heard a lot of planning, right, to make that one day happen, and obviously a lot of partnership between our teams and within your organization. I know between IT and the contact center team, the business teams. Let's talk about the future. So time for you to get out your crystal ball. How do you see things evolving, voice or contact center strategy over the next few years? What are the big things that you're thinking about right now moving forward?
Our inbound calls are probably going to start getting to be more complex. Right now, we just have somebody calling in, they call a phone number and it gets dropped into a queue. There's not much more than that. We're looking at doing some pop ups for them, pulling data from Salesforce to identify a customer, find out who their point of contact should be on their account, and those types of things, and deliver those calls. So, those are some of the things in the future that we do want to look at doing. It's just we have to, of course, have the time to actually do it. We have a few other countries that we have systems in that have not been added in yet because there's so few people in them at the moment that it just hasn't been worth it. For example, right now in Chile, we have 4 people with a phone number. The system that they have is working for the moment, so we just haven't gotten around to replacing it and putting them on a Voxy, but we have several locations like that. We're also expanding further in the Philippines, and I expect that we will be adding more and more agents in the Philippines because that's been a real big success for the company.
James, really appreciate your time sharing your journey, best practices, insights with us. That brings us to the end of the conversation. I think you really touched on a lot of different areas around your experience and how the right voice partner was able to help you transform from a technology perspective, but really your entire operations. Again, it was clearly a partnership, I think, between our two companies. So for those that are watching who see some parallels with your own situation around voice management challenges, of course, we'd love to continue the conversation. You can always reach out to us at our sales team at sales@avoxi.com to discuss any specific needs. And thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you again, James, for having us on. We hope to speak with you again soon.
Thank you very much.